Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignandcam.com. In this lesson, I'm going to continue with front corner of the Maserati MC20 supercar. Alright, so I'm almost done. I just have to put some fillets on this one and just put a headlamp on this one. So let's go ahead and get started. Now this is the reference I have. I'm going to be putting some fillets over here. So let's go ahead and do that first. So I'm just going to grab a surface fillet over here, build theoretical. Actually, this one does have a theoretical established, so I'm just going to use existing. So let's start with 100. I would say it probably needs to be a little bit bigger just because of the size of this one. So I would say actually I could probably double this. So let's go 200 over here. Now you could also create the bottom surface over here. So let's go ahead and do that too. So I'm just going to, let's see. Actually, you know what? Oh yes, I do have a surface here, so I should make the bottom as well. So I'm just going to snap a curve like this, and I'm just going to do something like that. And let's just make it a degree 2, like that. Give it a little of a volume. And let's go ahead and put something in there. Because it's going through the center, I'm going to change it to parallel. And I'm going to pick this one first and do this one. Now it does say curvature, which I do not want. So I'm just going to say position explicit control can be turned off. Curve segments is not really needed. And that should do it. All right. And I'm going to switch it back to natural over here for this one. Let's go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to extend this piece over here. Oh, looks like my merge is off. So let's go ahead and extend it. And I'm just going to match the length over here so that they're nicely fitting each other. So let's go ahead and extend this just a little bit over here. And since I have to change 2 surfaces over here, I think I'm just going to match this one because I don't think this one is connected to anything over here. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to say hide unselected. I'm just going to say extend. I'm going to extend it. Oh, it looks like it's a little bit short. Just do that over there and that should be good. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing over here. It's going to be existing theoretical. It's going to be 200, something similar in size. I'm just going to snap a curve over here and I'm going to snap a curve over here because these two need to be connected. So snap there, snap here, and let's go ahead and project over here like this. I'm going to project it in X. That curves are no longer needed, so I'm just going to delete those. I'm going to trim here, and I'm going to trim here. Let's go ahead and make these curves invisible. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and 4. Of course, it looks like it's got extra spans. 1 and 3 is going to be curvature, so I'm just going to do a rebuild that takes care of it nicely. I'm just going to go ahead and delete the construction history over here. And it does need a curve, a filler over here. Now, to be honest, the angle I think should be a little bit more slanted, but it is just for a demo. So let's just keep it that way. Okay, this one, I am going to put a filler on this one, but I'm going to try and avoid, I know that this one actually has quite a large fillet, but I'm going to try to avoid a fillet over fillet situation. So let's start with 100 and see how that does. Now it doesn't have a theoretical established, so I'm just going to say build theoretical. Looks like it doesn't form. I wonder why. So let's start with something a little bit smaller. Oh, there it is. So it's quite possible that it was a little bit too big. But that's not, however, I do want to maximize the fillet size, so let's make it as big as possible. The rear end, I think I can probably just make it a little bit bigger. So let's maybe go 90. I think I can probably go 100 without the front corner disappearing altogether. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to try to make it as big as possible. But of course, there is a size limitation. Okay, so this one is 100, but because of the difference in angle, it's doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to custom build this. So let's go ahead and duplicate this edge, and I'm just going to put the pivot here, and I'm going to, well, make it maybe, and I'm just going to drag it like this, and I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, just a hair. Now, sometimes if you do try to scale from perspective view, it just, even with a little mouse movement, it just goes a little bit too much. So what you can do is you can just go to a orthographic view, and you can have a little bit more control. It'll slow down a little bit. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and align this piece over here, and I'm going to align this piece over here like this, and let's go ahead and make that corner. So again, I'm just going to snap a curve like this, and of course project over here like this. And I'm just going to trim this one, trim that one, and let's go ahead and do a square over here. So it's going to 1, 2, 3, and 4. Looks like this time rebuild didn't work. Well, it sort of did, but it's still 20 spans for my liking. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a line. But this time I'm just going to say push your influence to max, and I'm just going to reduce the number of spans like that. And let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. And that's looking pretty good. I don't need the curve anymore, so that can be gone. So now let's go ahead and do the outside. So I'm just going to grab these surfaces over here. I'm going to say hide unselected, delete the construction history, and let's do this part over here. Now this one probably could be a little bit larger, but I'm just going to keep the size somewhat similar. So in order to do that, I'm just going to duplicate this edge. I probably shouldn't have deleted the curve, but whatever. I'm just going to move it over here, and I'm just going to use that to align. Now you can do a curve fillet. So what you could do is you can just do a quick measurement over here. It looks like it's about 110, 111 to be more precise. And you can just grab a curve fillet over here. Just pick this one, 110, like, you know, something similar. And you can do that too. Now this surface does have a little bit of curvature in the intersection. So what you could do is you can just do a fit curve like this, delete the construction history. I'm just going to snap it over here and snap it over here. Now of course this rear end is not going to match, so just use a stretch tool, snap it here and here, and there you have it. I'm just going to project over here. Now for this one, because I'm projecting in a perspective, I'm just going to use normal like this. You don't have to, you can use view, it really depends. And I'm just going to fill this in with a square. Okay, so 20 spans to be honest. Collinear should be off. Now, what was going on? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do an explicit control 5 and 5, and that takes care of the spans nicely. So there it is. All right, now the outside one, I would say I can probably use a surface fillet. Let's give it a shot and see how it does. Now you can use it, but of course you'll see that it's a little bit biased towards one side. It's a lot longer from the theoretical on this one. Now that is just a function of, well, trying to match this one and this one, because the angle from here to here is a little bit different than the angle from here to here. It's going to be a little bit longer. Now if you don't really care about that, you can just leave it like this, but maybe a designer or aesthetical, you might not like that, in which case you can do a little bit of refinement. Now that's what I actually only need this portion because that's going to be chopped off. Actually, let's still make it properly. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to duplicate this edge. Let's move the, well, actually, I'm going to just do an offset. Well, no. I'm going to just move the pivot to here. And I'm just going to do something like this. And let's just scale it up until it's about like this over here. And I'm going to just align this curve as is. Actually, let's get rid of all the other curves except for this one, because they're sort of in the way. Okay. So I'm just going to create a new layer. I'm going to call it curves. Let's just hide all those. Over here like this, and that makes my working window a little bit cleaner. Okay, again, I'm just going to align this piece over here like that. Align a curvature. Oops, wrong spot. I'm going to align it over here like that. And I'm just going to copy and paste this one for the rear end like this. Again, it's just going to be aligned here, align here. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to do a fit curve on this one. Again, Like I said, this one does have a little bit of curvature in the intersection, so it's probably better to do a fit curve or a duplicate edge instead of just doing a straight curve for the tangent line. So I'm just going to snap it over here, copy and paste, snap it over here. I'm just going to use the stretch tool like this. Okay, and I'm just going to project here, and I'm going to project here like this, and I think that looks good. I'm going to trim here, and I'm going to trim here. Of course, get rid of the curves because they're no longer needed. A square, 1, 2, 3, and 4, like this. You can probably turn the rebuild off. Just going to delete that, and there it is. Now, of course, it's not as round as this one, but well, it is what it is. Okay, so let's do this corner over here. So I'm just going to just copy and paste this one, just move it up here. I could probably just scale it down just a little bit. Let's go to front view again. I'm just going to scale it down just a little bit over here, something like that. And let's go ahead and align on this side, align on this side. Let's use the curves to connect. Project over here. Of course, those curves are no longer needed. I'm going to trim here, and square over here. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's it. All right, of course, so for the outside border, you don't need all this, so I'm just going to chop it off. So let's go ahead and use an insert. Now, but you still want a nice, basically a surface over here that is complementary to this one, because if it is so, then it's going to be a lot easier to get the right shape. So I prefer just building out everything so that this one matches, then automatically this surface or fillet is going to match nicely over here as well. Now that's however, I think this one has a little, when I'm using insert, I think it's got a little bit too much crown. So I'm just going to go ahead and strike a straight curve. Actually, let's see. Oh yeah, it looks like there is a reference for that. Although it is in a perspective view, so it might be a little bit off, but at least it's something that I can go off of. So I'm just going to project over here. It's this time it's going to view. And it might have something over here. Let's see if any of the other picture has it. No, not really. Okay, so maybe I'll just bring it up just a little bit so that I can put some kind of a chamfer like feature. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this one, and let's go ahead and strike a curve from here to here like this. I might give it a little crown, so I'm just going to go to a front view, give it a little bit of crown, and let's just go ahead and do a rail like that. That looks good. Now these pieces, it can be hidden. I don't know what was in this one. Oh, that one. Okay, so I'm going to say hide those. And this one, all I have to do is just intersect the two surfaces like this one. I'm going to trim here, I'm going to trim there. And it's, to be honest, it's a bit of a sharp edge. So let's, maybe I should have just used a fillet. So maybe let's go ahead and make a tiny fillet between the two. And I'm just going to project over here like this, just to trim that off. And that looks a little bit more palatable. Now that's what I think it should be a lot more round, but well, it is what it is. Okay. And only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a fillet over here. So let's go ahead and do that as well. Now this edge is already established, so I'm just going to use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this edge over here because if there's a little bias, it's probably better to duplicate it instead of just creating a new curve. So again, I might just do a little bit of scale like this. I think that's good. And I'm just going to align it over here, and I'm going to align it on this edge. I'm going to snap a curve from here to here, here to here, like this. I'm going to project it from X. For this one, I'm going to project it from X. I think it's pretty flat to the plane. Let's do a square. So it's going to 1, 2, 3, and 4. That looks pretty good. And oh, actually, I'm not going to keep the curve because I have to do the same thing over here as well. So for this one, here's what you can do. You can just snap a curve like this. You can actually, why wasn't that? Oh, move the pivot here like that. I'm going to copy and paste. Oops. I'm going to move the pivot to here. Why is it doing that? Delete the construction history. Is there a fit curve or some kind of history there? Okay, so I'm just going to scale it down just a little bit from the front view. I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to snap it over here and just scale it like this. And now let's go ahead. Now, if you want to build the surface, go ahead. But this one is going to be chopped off over here. So you probably don't need to. Really depends on how you want to build it. So I'm just going to say G2 over here, G2 over here. And let's go ahead and I'm just going to strike a curve like this. And I think I'm just going to use this to project. So I'm going to project here in Y. I'm going to trim that one. Why is it not trimming? Oh, it looks like the COS is actually a little bit short. So extend that one. And I'm just going to do a rail. Now, this one, because I'm doing it over this one, it's a curve like this. It's probably better to do parallel. And you also want to do curvature on gen. Looks like that has a little shift in CV, but it's not too much. So I think I'm going to be okay. Although I do want the rail curve to be, or the rail edge to be degree 5. I think that looks pretty good. Now it looks like there might be a little bit deviation. No, I do have it. Okay, so that's good. And now let's go ahead and build a rail over here as well. So I'm just going to snap a curve from here to here. I'm going to project, view. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a bi-rail over here. Oops, it's going to be 1 and 2. So gen, rail 1, rail 2. Like this, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I didn't notice that there was an inside edge. Okay, so I'm just going to delete the construction history over here. So same thing over here. I'm just going to copy and paste this curve and let's just project from Y like this. And let's just go ahead and trim. Again, this is going to be just parallel. So 1 and 2 like this, and that's good. All right, so let's go ahead and actually chop it off because it's not going to go all the way to the end. So I'm just going to maybe do something like that. It can be straight. You can give it a little bit of crown. So let's go ahead and project. It's going to be from view. Why is it floating? Oh, because I picked the wrong surface. Okay. So let's pick that one. I'm just going to say view. Looks like it naturally gives a little bit of curvature over here. I probably need to actually move it a little bit this way. Like this. Let's see. Maybe that's a little bit too much. Okay, so something like that. And now I'm just going to trim it. And I'm just going to create a surface based on that. So I'm just going to use this corner. Actually, you know what? Let's move it up just a little bit. So I'm going to grab this one. I would say, because right now I think it's somewhere a little bit near the theoretical for this one. So I think I'm going to move it up just a little bit. And I'm going to snap it over here. Just going to project there. And let's go in and do a rail. So it's going to be 1 and 1. So natural rail should be 5 degrees. Okay, so obviously this is a very complex shape, so it looks like it's doing that. I'm going to say parallel for this one, and I do want to align this one. So I'm going to say align. It's going to position though, and I'm going to increase the blending 1, 2, 3, blend factor of 0. That does look a little bit funny, to be honest, as far as the CV structure goes. So let's see if I can do a fit curve instead. And I'm going to say degree 5. Yeah, that's much better and still positional. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that one, and I'm going to rebuild this one with the fit curve, and there it is. That's, I think, much better shaped than before. Now that's I don't know why they're, oh, okay, so that's why there's quite a lot of distance, because the surface angle between this one and this one is actually quite different. So maybe that wasn't the best choice for this. Well, but it's a hidden surface, so let's just trim it, because, well, it's not going to be much. I can just trim that out. So let's just intersect between the two. Now this is not the cleanest execution, but whatever. Okay, so let me just trim this one over here. I'm just going to extend this back over here like this, and I'm just going to trim that one. So this one should be probably cut off a little bit more, but yeah, that's really funky. But for this demo, let's just, because this is an invisible part, let's just leave it. Okay, so surface fillet over here, it's going to be, let's see, I would say maybe a little bit bigger. So looks like 15 is a little bit too big. 13, well, you want to do 13, 12? 12, yes, okay. So 13 looks like it's still a little bit too big. Well, 12 it is. And I'm just going to extend this surface over here. I'm going to extend this surface over here like that. And let's go ahead and intersect here and here. I'm going to trim this one, trim that one, trim that one. Looks like COS is actually a little bit short. Okay, so it looks like it's not, oh, it does extend. There it is. I'm just going to trim that one. And that's it. Okay, so now the only thing I need to do, well, first of all, delete the construction history on the curves, and I'm just going to hide it. So I think that looks pretty good for the front end. Now, of course, there's a little bit of design difference. This one should be a little bit higher, and this one should be a little bit leaning a little bit more. But for what is, I think it's pretty good. So I think the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a cutout for the headlamp, and I'll say that's done. Now for this one, let's go ahead and extract the theoretical. So for all the surfaces, so I'm just going to say, grab this one, I'm going to untrim like this. And I'm just going to do a fit curve over this edge over here. I'm just going to make it degree 2 over here and here. Okay, and I'm just going to use those as the bases. So delete the construction history over here, delete the construction history on this one, and I'm just going to extend this back over here like this. And it does look like there's a little bit of crown this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, first of all, move it over here like this, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of push this way, and I'm just going to project it from the top. So let's go ahead and project it like this. And let's just take a look at the location. Actually, I think it's actually on the fillet itself. So let's go ahead and project it over here as well. I'm just going to push it just a little bit forward like this. And I think that looks good. And I'm just going to project this front from Z as well. And let's figure out where it needs to sit. So I would say probably something along the lines of here. And I'm just going to copy and paste this one over here like this. But of course, the angle should be adjusted a little bit. So I'm just going to rotate it like that. And let's just go ahead and project it from Z. And I would say it probably needs to go a little bit this way and forward. Something like that. And I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to grab this one, copy and paste. I'm just going to do a little rotation. And again, I'm just going to project from Z. Okay, so I was worried about this little hook over here, but it looks like it's automatically generates it. But I think it needs a little bit more crown. So I'm just going to extend this one, and I'm just going to give it a little bit more crown this way. And I think that actually it's not too bad. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, yeah, let's lift them up, and I'm just going to change the shape a little bit. So using the stretch tool, I'm just going to push it a little bit this way. to make sure that the shape is similar. I'm just going to push it a little bit this way, like this, and oops. I think it's time for a bit of fillet here and there. Maybe a little bit that way, like this. And let's go ahead and do a curve fillet between this one. This one is going to be a little bit small, so maybe let's try a 30. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Now this one, I'm going to try to just do this. And let's go ahead and make sure the direction is going the right way. Maybe now I would prefer just one curve instead of leaning over here because it's starting to hook over here. So I'm going to just keep it this way, but I'm going to give it a little bit of acceleration towards the center so that this appears a little bit tighter. And let's go ahead and do a curve fillet over here and here. Maybe something a little bit bigger, 50. And I'm going to do a small one over here as well. Maybe, I think 30 is okay. Maybe 25, something a little bit smaller. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and divide that, and that'll be it. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to grab all of these surfaces. I'm going to project from Z. And now I'm going to just clean off the COSs. So I'm going to snap here. I'm going to, oh, that one doesn't need one. And before I do anything though, let's go ahead and delete the construction history though. And construction history on the curves. Snap here, here, and here. I'm just going to go to the top view and trim all those, but let's go ahead and hide the curves first. Just going to deselect these. Oh, actually, you know what? I picked the wrong one. That's okay. You can just toggle. No, actually. Oh, I think I did select them. I'm going to say hide. And let's go ahead and clean up the curves. So curve section, I'm going to do that. This one. Like this. Pick these at the same time. I'm gonna pick this one and this one. You can just delete, and that's it. So all you have to do is hide the curves over here. Now, if you want to gap this, you can do that too. So if you want to gap it, you can probably use a tubular offset. So maybe I'll just do maybe like a mill. Chain select over here. You can do this. But when you're doing this, you got to be a little bit careful because if it's a mill, it's going to create one on the inside, one on the outside. So you just got to pick and choose which side you would prefer to keep, and you can just do the divide like this. So I'm just going to grab all these. Let's grab this one, this one, this one. I'm just going to delete them. Just using my middle mouse. And I'm going to just trim divide. Let's delete these COSs, well, this COS over here. Now these miscellaneous like random stuff, you can, it's always a good thing to like clean those up as well. So I'm just going to, whoops, divide. That's fine. And only have to just get rid of the ones in the middle. And that's it. Of course, if you divided them correctly, oops, of course, I don't think I did because I accidentally deleted that one. So let's go ahead and untrim and retrim, and I'm just going to say keep over here. And the headlamp is nicely divided. So now the only thing I need to do is just trim the whole thing and just do a symmetry at the center. So I'm just going to grab all those, project. I'm going to trim. I'm going to say keep over here. Delete the construction history over here, and let's bring all the surfaces, excluding the wheel flats, the rear one. Just going to bring it over here, symmetry on, and there's the front. of the Maserati MC20. All right, so hopefully this helped with you guys on understanding how to build the front corner. Now it really depends on each car, but at least this is one thing, at least it is one way you can explore a particular car like this one. So hopefully that was a good lesson for you guys. All right, thank you guys for watching and see you next time. Want to learn Autodesk Alias and digital sculpting? Then become a member at 3ddesignacademy.com, where you'll find hundreds of video tutorials ranging from basics, including curve creations, intermediate level tutorials such as this wheel, all the way to Class A modeling of the entire car exterior. Interested? Visit 3ddesignacademy.com.